No doubt you've heard the expression, what a difference a day makes. Well, how about the difference a century makes? I'd like to share with you just a few of the things that tell us the way things were back in 1921, 100 years ago. The average life expectancy was 47 years. Today, that's about 80. Fuel for cars was only sold in drugstores, and only about 1 in every 5 homes had a bathtub. Only 8% of homes had a telephone. Now, that might be about the same today, but that's because of cell phones. Very few people have landlines in their home. The average U.S. wage in 1919 was 22 cents an hour. That would be equivalent to about 59 cents an hour today. More than 95% of all births took place at home, and 90% of doctors had no college education. Instead, they attended so-called medical schools, many of which were condemned by the press and by the government as substandard. Sugar cost 4 cents a pound, eggs were 14 cents a dozen, and coffee 15 cents a pound. Can you imagine how cheap a trip to Starbucks would have been back then? Most women washed their hair just once a month and used borax soap and or egg yolk. The two leading causes of death were pneumonia or influenza and tuberculosis. The American flag just had 45 stars. 2 out of every 10 adults couldn't read or write, and only about 6% of all Americans had graduated from high school. Marijuana, heroin, and morphine were available over the counter. There were only about 230 reported murders in the whole country. To compare that number to today's statistics would be like comparing apples to bowling balls. It's fun to compare, but as the great scientist, physicist Stephen Hawking once said, if time travel is possible, where are all the tourists from the future? Although some people say they'd like to be young again and some young people would like to be older, probably everybody's pretty satisfied with where they're living right now. The point is, to be sure, a day can make a big difference, and a century, well. But the fact is that even a minute can make a big difference. So there's no time to lose. There are so many sayings about time, like, time flies, whether you're having fun or not. The bad news is that time flies. The good news is that you're the pilot. The greatest gift you can give someone is your time, because when you give your time, you're giving a portion of your life that you will never get back. Imagine you had a bank account that deposited $86,400 each morning. The account carries over no balance from day to day. It cancels whatever the amount you failed to use during the previous day. What would you do? Of course, you'd withdraw every cent every day, wouldn't you? Well, each of us has such a bank, and its name is time. Every morning, it credits you with 86,400 seconds, and every night, it writes off as lost whatever time you failed to use wisely. It carries over no balance from day to day. It allows no overdraft, so you can't borrow against yourself or use more time than you have. Each day, the account starts fresh, and each night, it destroys any unused time. If you fail to use the day's deposits, it's your loss, and you can't appeal to get it back. There's never any borrowing time. You can't take a loan out against your time or someone else's time. The time you have is it. It's up to you to decide how to spend that time. Just as with money, you decide how you spend the money. It's never the case of us not having enough time to do things, but rather whether we want to do them and where they fall in our priorities. So, no time to lose. This is all the time you have. Make the most of it.